or not you're actually live, but I think it looks like we're live. Let me know if you're there watching and if you can hear me well and if everything looks okay. Let's optimize the view a little bit. I got to be able to reach the phone though to be able to see the comments and stuff. But yeah, we're doing a live stream Q&A. Ask me anything regarding running, just questions and answers, anything you want to know. I will answer it for you. Let's see. So hopefully the chat is working. So if someone's watching, tell me something in the chat. It's a rainy day. Actually, it was sunny earlier. Now it's rainy here in Norway. The spring and the summer sometimes bring this kind of weather where, you know, it's almost like tropical type of weather, although it's not really warm. But you know, that type of weather where it's sunny and then there's a lot of moisture that evaporates and there's these huge clouds and suddenly you get rain. It's very unpredictable. And yeah, so you think it's going to be nice and it's not, and then the other way around as well. My training has been going really well, and I've been heading out for runs some days over the last week thinking it's going to be glorious and I'm going to have sun and enjoy myself, and then it ends up just being super rainy and I get totally soaked. Whereas on other days I think I'm gonna get soaked, I put on a jacket and I end up being way too hot because it's sunny. So that's life as a runner. What else can I talk about while we're waiting for people to arrive and comments to come through? I guess I could give a little bit of an update on my training. After injuries and stuff, I'm finally now at a point where I'm actually not really having any pain anywhere. Like I can go out. I mean, there's always, you know, you always have to balance out. There's always some tissues that might be slightly overloaded. So like one day you end up with a slight, you know, ache in your tibialis anterior muscle, for example, and then you keep an eye on that, and then a few days later maybe your left calf is a little sore, and you sort of always have to balance out a little bit these things. So there's always something going on if you're pushing the limits in terms of your training, of course, which I am, but knock on wood, no injuries at the moment, so that makes me very happy. Paul says, hi Mikkel, good to see you, best wishes. Thank you, glad to have you with us here in this live stream. If anyone else is there, feel free to say hi in the chat and ask a question if you want to know anything running related or otherwise, really, but let's try and keep it running focused. So yeah, so no pain, no injuries at the moment, just sort of cruising through 60 kilometers a week, building myself up again from scratch after having a lot of issues in 2019 and 2020, and now just cruising on, hopefully keep progressing so that I can arrive at 2022 and be ready for some serious training. Well, guys, ask me a question, please. That's the point. This channel isn't really that big yet, of course, so we don't necessarily have that many people with us, and that's fine because it's all good. We need to build it up brick by brick, and that's my plan to do over the years. It's not always easy to get the videos out. There's a lot of work and there's a lot of other things going on in my life too, and training, etc. So I sometimes find it hard to get the videos done, but I do want to sort of prioritize it going forward. So I'm thinking about ways that I can sort of make the videos more of a priority. All right, so question, what about high altitude training? It really gets harder at a certain level. What's your experience on the subject? Good question. Well, I don't have any personal experience with high altitude training. Well, to be perfectly, to define it correctly, high altitude is actually not optimal for training. What you want is moderate altitude, which is like 1,500 meters up to like 2,005, perhaps as high as 3,000. But mostly they find that the sweet spot is around 2,000, 2,100 meters above sea level, which is like Flagstaff, Arizona, USA. Boulder is 1,500 meters, a little bit on the low side, but still pretty good. And of course, a lot of places in Ethiopia and Kenya, etc. I don't have any experience. I would like to try it, but you know, a lot of things happen in the body when you go to altitude, and it's a little bit debated. There's no like hard evidence that it's beneficial, because it's very difficult to sort of separate it from the other positive effects you get by being at a training camp, right? So people go to a training camp at altitude. Well, that means they're more focused, there's less distractions, they're in a certain mode, right? They're trying to make the most out of this little altitude camp, right? And that means usually they'll be better at training, and they'll be better at recovery as well. And so it's difficult to say, is it just because they're at the training camp, or is it because of the altitude, or is it both? Probably both. So there's things happening, you know, like EPO increases a little bit. It's a hormone which makes you produce more red blood cells. So your hemoglobin goes, you get more oxygen, your VO2 max essentially goes up a little bit. And so I think it's beneficial. Most, like if we look at the evidence, most successful marathoners and long distance runners are including altitude training in their plan. So it seems likely that it is beneficial. But you know, I don't have any personal experience, and how much of it is the training, the adaptations from the altitude, and how much is just the training camp, I'm not entirely sure myself. I would like to try it though. I definitely would like to try it. Maybe start out with like Boulder or something, like a little lower, 1,500 meters, because it's quite stressful as well. If anyone else has any experience with altitude, please let us know. All right, next question. Close to home. Brit living in Lisbon, Portugal. Sometimes if I run days in a row, my legs start to hurt and don't feel fresh. How to deal with that? Push through. Well, you know, that is the challenge for a long distance runner, how to balance mileage. Essentially, the weak link in your body is not your ability to tolerate and handle training as such. Right, like if you get into like overtraining. So when you're talking about, let's just put it down a little bit. So when you're talking about cyclists, for example, because there's no impact, cyclists are more prone to overtraining syndrome, which means that there's a systemic breakdown of the body, the glands, the endocrine system, the nervous system, the whole body as a whole is just not adapting, and it's been broken down too much, and it can be very unhealthy and dangerous even. Whereas for runners, the weak link is not necessarily that. It's mostly the legs, right? How much pounding can the legs take? And so when you're planning a training week, or if you're planning, hi Sean, if you're planning a training week, or if you're planning a training year, whatever, you need to have a very gradual progression to have your legs adapt to the mileage. And this has to be done in a systematic way, and constantly just add in a little bit at a time, get your body used to it at a certain level, stay there for a little while in terms of mileage. So if you just increase the amount of kilometers you run in a week, for example, stay there for a few weeks, and then take it down a notch for a week, and then back up again, and then perhaps start working up to a new level. And it needs to be very gradual. Most people do it way too quickly, and they're too eager, and you get too much, and you crash, and you get injuries and all. And I've been there, done that as well, trying to avoid it going forward. So I would say, if your legs just feel heavy from training, you know, if it's just like, oh, I'm a bit sore now, it's my legs are a little heavy, but there's no overt pain, then perhaps you can push through. But probably you don't want to do the hardest workout the day after you just did something else and your legs are feeling tired. Make sure you give yourself a few days of very easy running, maybe a day off, maybe several days off if you're at that level, until you're doing your next hard effort or long run. And then your legs will feel tired again for a day or two, and then it comes back. But if your legs are constantly tired or constantly painful, or if you have a specific pain, then you definitely do not want to push through that. You want to rest it, make sure it's passing within a few days. If it doesn't go away, then go to a physiotherapist and get who specializes in like running mechanics and stuff, to have them help you actually figure out what to do, and if there's an injury and how to deal with it, and do maybe some supplemental training to strengthen the legs, etc. So long story short, I guess I would say if you are tired in the legs, be careful, back off a little bit, wait until you're fresh again, and then start building again, or add in the next hard workout. And that this sort of cycle, you have to always balance it from day to day and from week to week. But don't train if you have pain. At least if it's not, like if it's a little bit of pain and goes away after the run, that's fine. But if it gets worse, then definitely don't do that. All right, Victoria's Kitchen. Hi there. So in 1 week, I have my first official 5K run. Cool. I'm relatively newer to running, about a year now. Any tips regarding pre-race fuel, or any tips you found helpful for the first race? Good question. I could talk for an hour about that probably, but let's make it pretty simple. I would say your first race, it's not so much about the time and the performance, it's more about your experience, right? So you want to have a good experience, you want to have fun, and you want to enjoy it, and you want to run fast, but that's like third priority. So the number one tip that I'm going to give you is don't start out too fast. Okay, if you start out too fast, which is like what almost everyone does in every race, and I've done it myself as well, sometimes you just got to learn the hard way. But try and have a rough idea before you start, maybe of where you're at and what you're able to handle for the pace, and try and stick to that and keep it pretty even throughout the race. If you get too eager because it feels good and you're high on adrenaline and just go like all out in the first 2 kilometers, first mile or two, then you're going to crash and burn, and it's going to feel horrible towards the end, and you're going to end up with a positive split slower and slower throughout the race, and you can probably end up with feeling like it was horrible. As opposed to if you're able to keep a steady pace, I'm not saying start easy, okay? The 5K is pretty short, you're going to start pretty hard, but not so hard that you can't keep it up for the whole race, and even increase it a little bit, the pace towards the end. So number one tip, just be mindful of your pace from the get-go. Second tip would be don't try anything new on race day. Don't suddenly put on some new shoes or something crazy, try a new gel or something on race day. Practice everything before you do it. How long was it until again? So 1 week. Okay, so and the third thing I would say is that the last week now before the race, you can't really do much about your fitness, but you can, if you train too much, you can end up being tired on race day. So for this next week, you're just going to keep doing what you've already been doing in training, but just take it down a notch, right? Maybe do like half as much distance on each run. Maybe take an extra rest day the day before. It's called a taper. You can read up on tapering. We probably know about that already, but look up tapering and just take it easy the last week. A little bit of running, maybe some strides. Arrive at race day feeling fresh. Nothing new on race day. Pre-fueling, just what you always do. Just stick to what you know works. That's probably my best advice. And of course, have fun. It's always fun. The first race is awesome. It's the best ever. All right, so good luck. Let us know. Make a comment on a video later or something where you tell us how it went. All right, so JS, do you ever do an all-out effort during a training cycle in order to establish what fitness you're at, like a 3K or 5K? Yeah, that's called a test run, essentially, or a time trial. I think that's a great thing to include in a training plan, a time trial, to check where you're at. But it does, of course, also have a cost. Anytime you want to test yourself in an all-out effort, even if it's as short as a 3K, it does cost something, right? Like it will take something out of you. You do have to sort of build into it a little bit and maybe taper for a few days, and you got to recover afterwards. So it sort of affects your training for a couple of weeks. And maybe that's fine, right? That's totally fine usually. But maybe you also just want to do like a B race, like suppose you're training for a half marathon, you could do like a 10K or something, 6 to 8 weeks out, right? And then do it at the pace that you're planning on doing the half marathon in, and you'll see how that feels and sort of gauge it off that. That's one way of doing it. I haven't done that many time trials in that way myself. I guess I just feel like I'm too concerned with the possibility that it's just going to take too much out of my training. And when I'm training, I don't want to race. I want to train, and then I want to save racing for just like a couple of times a year, all out. So yeah, it can be useful, definitely. I tend to sort of get a lot out of just my workouts, though. I do my workouts and I sort of see where I'm at compared to earlier years by looking at Strava and looking at heart rate data from the past, etc. Training reports in my log on Strava. And I just try to sort of gauge off that where I'm at. Yeah, and also a short time trial is pretty short, so you'll recover pretty fast. But then again, your legs have to be ready for it. A 3K pace is pretty fast for me. I mean, not there's a lot of people that are way faster than me. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying 3K pace compared to like my threshold pace, etc., is pretty fast. So you can't just suddenly do a 3K time trial out of the blue, right? You have to prepare your legs for it a little bit as well. So it really, there's a lot of considerations to do, I guess. And yeah, let's move on. All right. But time trials are a good idea, though. Sean wants to know, how are you going to spend your summer, and how's the new ebook coming along? Good question. The ebook is sort of coming along. I'm pretty much done writing it. I'm actually putting pictures into it now, and I'm sort of editing it, and I'm gonna make the cover, and then I'm gonna launch it essentially. So I'm probably just like 15 hours of work away from launching. But there's just so much other stuff in my life right now. I'm not going to get into all of it, but I'm so busy right now, and there's a lot of things going on, and it's just I'm not able to find the time to spend that much time on the ebook. So but I hope that's going to change in like a couple of weeks, and I'm going to be able to get the ebook out maybe by July, sometime this summer. That's my plan. So my plans this summer, just train, and train. I'm going to stay here in Norway the whole summer. Obviously, I love Norway in the summer. I'm going to go on a camp. So I'm coach, right, for the local track runners, the local middle and long distance running club for teenagers. I'm their coach, and we are going actually to a camp later in about a month. So it's a 5-day camp, and I'm one of the hosts, I guess you could say, activity leaders. And that's going to be so much fun. I went with them last year. I'm going again this year, and it was an awesome time. I really look forward to that. So much fun to hang out with the teenagers and kids. And then later in the summer, perhaps head to the cabin for a week together with my parents and my brother, just to have a little bit of time off. That'll probably be my only week off for the whole week, for the whole summer. Possibly the whole year. I'm pretty busy, and training is pretty intense sometimes, but yeah, that's my plan. Training, staying home, having a good time. What about you, Sean? How long are you staying over there in Mexico? Victoria's Kitchen, perfect. Thank you so much. You're welcome. Thomas, you think of cycling as good cross training for runners? As far as cross training types of activities go, cycling is probably one of the worst, actually. It's much better to do something which is more similar to running, like aqua jogging. That's probably the closest one. Cross-country skiing, elliptical. Those things are closer to the running motion and will be more specific in terms of your running fitness. But cycling is fun. and it's it's good training generally, and your cardiac, your cardio, what am I looking for? Your cardiac system, I guess, your heart essentially, doesn't know the difference whether you're running or cycling, right? So if you're looking at the heart adaptations, cycling is as good as anything else, and you can accumulate a lot of time cycling. But then again, it'll take away a little bit from your recovery for running, right? So if you're a runner, you probably want to prioritize running and be careful. Just add in a little bit of easy, moderately long rides to supplement, like the way I do it. You don't want to do too much or too long, because it's going to take away. You essentially have to trade it for a run. But it's pretty good. I would say cross training is good just to add a little bit of extra volume here and there, but you don't want to prioritize it. You want to focus on running if you're a runner. And if you're looking for the best type of cross training, I think I would go for cross country skiing, aqua jogging, or elliptical. But then again, the bike, you can get around, right? It's more similar to running in that sense. You can get out there and see the world. And so that's why I do a lot of cycling, actually, or not a lot, but a little bit. Good question. All right, so Mont Alban Jr. just finished a 13-miler. Nice. What's the ultimate recovery meal drink? Bananas, man. You gotta have some bananas. I would say the ultimate recovery drink meal would be a smoothie with water, obviously, bananas, plenty of bananas, carbohydrates, simple sugars, quickly restoring glycogen stores, potassium, which is an electrolyte. If you lost a lot, if you sweated a lot, I would probably put a little bit of salt into it just to replace sodium. I actually have a little scale myself, a micro scale that I actually weigh my salt and do it by the milligram. That's you don't have to do that necessarily. Just a little bit of salt, or a lot, depending on how much you lose and how much salt you usually eat. But bananas, water, and then anything else really, protein powder probably, because you do want to sort of stimulate your ability to you want to stimulate those adaptations, right, that happen after training. And increasing the protein intake will actually sort of boost some of those chain reactions that happen in the cell that produce more adaptations. So water, bananas, and protein powder, and then you can flavor it with blueberries or whatever else you want to put in there, I guess. Simple sugars and protein. Oh, Bal just donated $20. Thank you, man. That is very kind of you. I appreciate it. He used there's like a super chat thing where you can do that somewhere on the right, or maybe it's not $20. It's more like 20 something else dollars. It looks like 8 kroner, so that'd be like $1. But that's awesome. Thank you so much. All right, next up, Lesa. I'm running indoors a lot, but trying to incorporate more outdoor time, especially long runs. I'm struggling with bringing enough water for 3 to 4 hour runs. Got suggestions? Okay, cool question. Well, first of all, 3 to 4 hour long runs, that is very long. Are you training for an ultra marathon, perhaps? I would say that personally, my opinion is that if you're training for a marathon, even if you're going to finish it in like 4 hours, you probably don't want to do that many 4 hour runs. It's just the amount of benefit that you're getting in terms of physiological adaptation compared to how much risk or how much it costs you in terms of recovering afterwards and the risk for injury. I would say it's probably better to sort of limit it to 3 hours. Jack Daniels, the coach, he says he limits it to 2.5 hours. But sure, if you want to do some 4 hour runs, definitely do those, but probably not every week though. But you probably got this under control. I don't know how your training plan is looking, but your question was actually about how to bring water. What I like to do is if I'm going to do a serious long run like that, I would probably actually drive out in advance and put water bottles along the way and then go pick them up the next day or later the same day. That's one way of doing it. Other, I guess you could carry water, of course, in a backpack kind of thing, or bottles. How much do you sweat in 4 hours? Well, if let's say you lose like 6, 7, 800 milliliters an hour on average, like depends very much on the person. It's very individual, but that would bring it up to like 2.5 liter or so. And let's say you don't have to replace all of it immediately. You could just replace like half of it, maybe. That's like 1.5 liter. So technically you could just bring 1.5 liter. That's not too hard. And you would be okay. You can also start out by drinking like half a liter right before you head out. That way you're already starting with some water in your stomach. And then the next tip, I guess, it would be if you're running in an urban environment, if you're in a place where there's people around when you're not in the forest or something. Well, if you're in the forest, you could drink from streams, right? Maybe you have like a plant roots along known water sources. Okay, yeah, I think that's what I was gonna say now. That if you're not in the trails, well, if you're on the trail, you can have like a water filter and drink from streams. But if you're actually in an urban area, you could just stop by a cafe or whatever and say, hey, can I just have a glass of water, right? I also have this little foldable cup from Salomon where I find just like little hoses and stuff behind stadiums and around. Just you can find water around town, and you just like get some water, drink it, and move on. So that's probably how I would do it. Alrighty. Joshua, I'm looking to get back into running after 10 years of zero running, and I'm a tiny bit overweight. I want to build my fitness back safely, quickly, while obviously losing weight. Any tips? Well, here's one tip. You should get a coach, and I will be your coach. That's one way of doing it. You could contact me for coaching. There's a link in the description of this video. mgjcoaching.no/international. We can set up a training plan. I mean, that's one way of doing it. Otherwise, though, if you don't have a coach or you just want to do it yourself, that's fine too. You just want to be careful. You don't want to get too focused on how you used to run, right? Like a lot of times people think, well, I used to run this much. I used to run this type of pace. And then they try and just jump straight into that again. You don't want to do that. So you want to take it very carefully, systematically, build it up gradually. And well, basically you just want to sort of start very, very carefully and build it up to a certain level. Let's say you're running 3 times a week and you're, going for like 20 minutes, and then, okay, next week or after like 3-4 weeks at that level, you can go up to like half an hour, stay there for like 3 weeks. You go up to 40 minutes, stay there for 3 weeks. Then you up it. Then you add another run, maybe a 20-minute run in addition to the 40-minute runs, etc., etc., etc. You don't want to constantly increase. You want to go up, stay there, up, stay there, up, stay there, and the ups should not be more than like maybe 10, 20, perhaps 30% of your weekly volume, but it depends on where you're at. So also if you're a little overweight, you just make sure that you are considering that when you're running in terms of like the load on your legs, etc., that you're taking it extra careful. Mind your cadence, your step rate. Have a high step rate is better, sort of reduce the loading on your joints, etc. Have good shoes, get some good shoes. But the most important thing is load management. Just make sure you don't, in the beginning, don't run 2 days in a row. Always run every other day. Keep it consistent, steady, gradual, stick to the plan. Yeah, and if you're interested in a plan, I would be happy to help you out. But keep at it. And in terms of losing weight, of course, just a small calorie deficit a day. I would say give yourself a year or 2 to lose the weight. If it took you 10 years to gain it, perhaps, don't expect it to be lost in like a year. Give it a couple of years. Take it slow, steady. Don't do anything drastic. And you're in it for the long haul, remember? Sean, brilliant. Cheers. Good. Are the bear. If you're running in the woods, you can drink from a river or creek, yes, as I said. Lisa says, cool ideas. Thanks, you're welcome. And she also says, I would suggest also focusing on either re-establishing running or losing weight, not both right off the bat. That's a good point, actually. You know, you don't want to sort of, a lot of times when people start up with things, they want to do everything at once, right? Like suddenly I'm going to get stronger, I'm going to get fitter, I'm going to lose weight, I'm going to get faster, I'm going to run more, I'm going to, you know, everything at once. And yeah, it's a risk if you're too much in a calorie deficit. So if you're losing weight and when you're losing weight, you are in a calorie deficit, right? And when you're in a calorie deficit, some of the processes that like the processes that happen after training, the training effect, those are a little bit, you know, brought down when you're in a deficit. Okay, so it's not really ideal to be in a calorie deficit while you're trying to build something, because building requires fuel and you want to be sufficient, and you want to boost those anabolic processes in the body after training to build you up. Whereas when you're in a deficit, your body is constantly also breaking you down, because it has to essentially eat up its fat stores. So there's a little bit of a hormonal thing going on there that's not absolutely optimal for gaining fitness. But then again, it depends how much you're under eating. If you're just like cutting your calories by like a couple of 100 calories a day, you'd lose about a kilo a month. You know, if I think like 260 calories a day equates to about a kilo lost per month. So if you did that for a year, you'd lose 12 kilos, 200 calories a day. Maybe that's just 5 to 10% of your calorie needs, depending on how active you are. That's not really that much. You could perhaps do that while building up your training. Yeah. And I would also say that if you are building up after a long hiatus from running, don't even think about intensity. Don't think about fast speed training and intense training. Focus on just easy running, just building your volume. Just do lots of easy running and build your capacity more and more and more. And slowly you'll start to incorporate some of that intensity. And easier running does go fairly well with weight loss, as long as it's not excessive. Or you could focus on one thing at a time, as Lisa says. How do you say that name? Lisa? Are the Bear, what's your next race? Well, my plan for this year was and still is just to arrive at 2022 uninjured, strong, and ready to train like a freaking pro. Okay, that's my goal. So I don't have any key races this year, something that I'm going to focus on a lot. I don't have that. But I do have a half marathon coming up in September. Hopefully it'll happen. I don't know. Because of the restrictions, it might not happen. But if it does happen, I'll run a half marathon in September. And if I'm in good shape, who knows? I hope to PR. Could I run sub 90 minutes? That's a goal I have. Maybe. But then again, I'm not going to sort of worry too much about trying to reach that. I'm just going to try and build my volume and my tolerance to workouts, etc. But before that, I'll probably join in. I'll do a time trial. We talked about time trials earlier. I have this loop on the island at the cabin where I go to. I'm going to test my fitness in August. It's an 8.5 kilometer route, very hilly. Going to see where I'm at there. That's sort of like a time trial, and then perhaps I'll join a race, 6.5 kilometer race the week after. But so nothing really special, but just the half marathon, I guess. That would be my next real race. Mark, hi there. Good to see you too. Joshua, thanks, Mikkel. Appreciated. Great beard, by the way. Thank you. I'm thinking about cutting the beard a little bit, to be honest. I cut my hair the other day. I'm not so happy about it. Well, I'm actually okay with the hair. I did it because I want to be fast, and it's just nice to not, when it's hot in the summer, you don't want to have too much hair just to stay cool, you know. But I feel like when I have that short hair, the beard becomes so big compared to my head. So I'm thinking maybe of just shaving it a little bit. Maybe I'll go like big mustache, short beard. Or maybe I'll just cut the mustache a little bit. We'll see. Who knows? Who knows what I'll do? But thank you. Lisa says, pronounced like Lisa. Okay, good. Cool though to have a kind of different spelling for your name. That's nice. Mark Walsh. Any long-term goals for an ultra? I mean, my running interest started with the interest for the ultra, right? So I was on La Palma, one of the Canary Islands, with my brother. You may know about this if you watch the Sweet Natural Living channel, my other channel. We've lived there, and we were there, and there was this ultra marathon there called Transvolcania. Such a cool name. One of the biggest, most prestigious ultra marathons in the world. 73 kilometers, 4,000 meters of elevation gain. Crazy stuff. And I was like, oh my God, I have to do this one day. And when I started my running career, that was my main goal. I wanted to do Transvolcania. And I even look at some old plans. I can see that I was actually planning on being able to run it in 2021, which is this year. Didn't end up getting quite there, not yet anyway. Had some obstacles along the way. Was probably a little naive in the beginning as to how quickly I was going to progress. I mean, it's possible to finish it. I'm pretty sure that if I was like, okay, you finish this race and then you win $1 million, or you finish this race or you'll die, I would definitely finish it, no problem. But well, no problem. I don't know about that, but I would finish it. But I want to be ready for a distance when I'm gonna race it, right? I want to be ready in terms of like having done actual proper training for it. So and in the meantime, I fell in love with like road racing, right, and just fast times and pavement and just threshold on the pavement kind of efforts and stuff like that. Lost a little bit of my passion for the trails, and so I don't know, but I think I'm pretty sure I will run Transvolcania one day. I have to do that. So let's say maybe in like 3 or 4 years, 5 years, perhaps, something like that. Yeah, and Comrades ultramarathon as well looks like a cool one. Let's see. Mark also says, as a long-time watcher of this and Sweet Natural Living, are you still mainly fruitarian, and how is this diet with your mileage? The comments disappear so quickly. And how is that diet with your mileage and your wish to cover your mileage? Yeah. Okay. So, well, you know, there's the Michael Arnstein, the fruitarian. He's an ultramarathon runner. He ate a fruitarian diet. He did pretty well. I'm pretty sure it's possible if you get good produce, if you get good quality fruit, a wide variety over time, then it's possible. I wasn't enjoying a fruitarian diet in Norway, just like tons of bananas and dates and almost nothing else. Crappy fruit, sour grapes, spending tons of money on peaches that were just super sour and not sweet. It just didn't feel sustainable to me here in Norway. In the tropics, though, it felt amazing and super sustainable, and I didn't want to eat anything else. How can you eat anything else when there's mangoes and papayas and durian that tastes just off the charts, right? So yeah, I'm not fruitarian now. I do eat a lot of fruit though, more than most people. But I'm also eating cooked starches, cooked grains, cooked sweet potatoes and stuff like that, and I'm very happy about it. It works very well. It's a little bit easier to get in the calories, etc., than on a fruitarian diet. So yeah, I'm happy about the current situation, even though I would like to eat more fruit, but I'm not in the tropics and it's just not sustainable. Are the bear. Transvulcania looks sick. I'm doing 100K this year. I'm planning to run up and down Vardåsen a lot for training. Oh yeah, that's right. You are in the area. I don't know. Have we ever passed each other on the run? Have I ever met you? Tell me. Vardåsen is a nice place to run. I thought the same thing actually when I was thinking about my future training for Transvulcania. I was thinking I was going to do all of my running on Vardåsen, just because it's, for those who don't know, there's a huge hill here in Norway. It's like, or just over there actually, right over there. I guess it's how high is it? Like 200 meters or something like that up. Ski slope, and there's also trails all around it. Sounds good. Sounds like a good plan. That's a good place to train, up and down Vardåsen. Awesome. 100K. That's insane. Cool. Which one is it? Oh, another super chat. Thank you, Angie Elizabeth, for $20. I appreciate it a lot, and I recognize you from the comment section out there in social media land. All right, so let's read her comment. Hi from Texas, Mikkel. Hi there. I'm not a runner, but I'm here to listen in. I used to love running when I was a teen, but my lungs would burn sometimes. I've been a fan for a few years. Keep up the good work, my friend. Thank you. That's a very kind donation and a kind comment. And I've seen your comments around, and I appreciate it. And you used to be a runner. Cool. I know about the lung burn though. Yeah, it's definitely something that I've noticed. That actually I noticed it more at the beginning of my running career, especially after a break. Like if I haven't run for a while and then I suddenly go running, it seems that the intense breathing, when you're not used to it, it sort of causes a sort of discomfort here in the lungs. And also if it's cold outside or very dry, you can get that. And some people are more prone to it than others, of course, like if you have a little asthma or something like that. So perhaps that's what it is. And you're not a runner anymore. That's fine. I'm sure you have other things that you are up to. Feel free to tell me what you're up to instead of running. What do you do? What's your day-to-day life like? What's your passion? Tell me about it. But again, I really appreciate the super chat, and I hope you're doing well in Texas. Texas is a big state. I really want to visit the US. I'm really fascinated by USA in many ways, and you know, in terms of like running, it seems to be a country that has a very long-standing culture for, you know, teenagers, as yourself. You just said that you were a teenager when you did run back in the day. There's a big culture for, you know, running in school, so track and field, cross country. I like that, and I'm very involved with the running culture in the US, of course, because I have coaching clients in the US currently. I obviously make videos, and most of my viewers are in the USA. What else? I follow the running scene over there, so I look at all the different races and stuff. And there was recently an Ironman in Texas, or was it a half Ironman? I guess I follow a guy named Lionel Sanders. I'm a big fan of his. He's a triathlete, and he recently did a race in Texas. Was it in St. George, or was that somewhere else? I think it was St. George, Texas. Anyway, so Texas looks like a cool place, actually. I definitely want to check it out when I eventually get over there to explore one day, hopefully soon. But yeah, thank you for the comment, and keep up your kind commenting. Are the bear. I'm planning to drop by your Saturday training session sometime when I have time. Nice. Cool. You're more than welcome. It's every other Saturday. So the next one will be on Saturday next week, next weekend, at 11:15 a.m. For those who don't know, I have a running group every other Saturday. I basically coach people through an interval session where we do some threshold or VO2 max work, or maybe some speed work. We work on some technique and things like that. And yeah, so it would be nice to see you there for sure. Well, I think I'm gonna wrap it up. If anyone is watching now and they have a burning question, post it quickly and I'll answer it. And if you didn't have a burning question, then don't post it, because then we'll stop it there. But I'm happy to give you a little bit of time though, in case you were writing a question as we speak. I don't want to leave you hanging. But if anyone new came through, probably just hold your question for later. Of course, I'm gonna say that if you are, my mom is just posting a comment. She's literally in the other room there. Hi, Mom. And also Mark says, thanks, great to see you. Thanks for joining, great to have you here as well. Yeah, it's been good. If anyone has any more questions, or if what was your name, the guy who was starting to run again after 10 years, Joshua, if you're still watching, if you have any particular questions, you could always just send me an email. Of course, if you go to the link in the description, you can find my website, and you can send me through the contact form there, and I'll be happy to answer some simple questions for you, free of charge, if you have any. And that goes for anyone else as well. If you have any quick questions, feel free to send me a message or comment on the videos or anything like that. And I'm very happy to have all of you with me here. This was fun. I'm starting to like these live streams. It's a lot of fun, and hopefully we'll do another one not too far in the future. Alrighty, well, that's it. Thanks for the comments, thanks for the joining, thanks for the super chats, and hope you're all doing well. Okay, thank you. See you later. Bye-bye.